RC Jim here, the plane doctor. Well, I don't know if that really applies, but every once in a while something like this happens and we got to do something about it. So in this video we're going to have a look at the Super Air, see just what's involved in fixing it and getting it up in the air again, and trust me, we will do it. As you think about those planes up above me there, I think all but maybe 3 of them have gone through some really major repairs along the way. Well, actually, one of them is yet to be done, although that just is a conversion from nitro to electric it's waiting on. But nonetheless, watch and we will work it out as we go, because with a lot of these things, we really don't know exactly what we're going to do until we do it. But that's just about to happen right now, so stay tuned. Well, a nice rainy day, as you can probably hear in the background, but what a better thing to do than to work on our planes. And I tell you, I was heartbroken when I smashed this thing. It was secondhand, you know, I bought it from somebody else. And in actual fact, they'd had some issues before, because underneath that smashed wing is another wing that the previous owner had replaced when he wrecked it. And this particular one has got repairs on it. It's got a support and plywood stuck on underneath there. So yeah, this plane is no stranger to misery or whatever. But anyway, as I look at it, it's built really lightly. We've got sort of 2-ply balsa, basically. You've got one balsa with some cutouts on the inside, and then another layer of balsa on the outside. Yeah, I don't think either of those are actually plywood. I think it's just 2 pieces of balsa glued together. And the cutouts have allowed for various bulkheads and things like that to get glued into place. So we got some major restructuring to go on there. And the other thing, this was originally a nitro plane, and so they didn't need to have access to the insides. Well, not regular access, you know, at the field. And so in putting in the battery, I had to take off the wing, secure the battery, put the wing on, bolt it on and all of that, and then go off and fly it, which I don't like. So when I rebuild it, I'm actually going to create a hatch on the top that it didn't have before, so we have access to the battery. As I mentioned, very lightly built, so these little bulkheads, you know, just the tiniest little bit of plywood that's around there. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that, but I'm certainly going to reinforce it and put in some new bulkheads and things. But what we need to do for a beginning is we need to get things stuck together to just get the overall shape in place, and then we will gradually add in bits and pieces inside here, and then finally we'll put on the panel up in the front and patch up the panel back here. Of course, the wing sits into this area here. We'll probably have some additional support in there as well. It'll end up being a fair bit heavier, but it weighs next to nothing right now, so if we could double that and probably still be okay. Well, maybe not double. But anyway, we need to strengthen it up a fair bit. The thing is carrying a 6S battery, so it needs to be rather stout just to be able to handle the impact when it lands and stuff like that. So we will get stuck right into it. As we get started here, I like to work on this sort of surface. I've got a part of an old desk here that's got sort of padded vinyl on the top of it, and then I've put this cloth over it, and then I've got this non-stick baking paper that I've put on top of that. So the baking paper picks up any drips. If I have something sitting on there that has glue on it, it won't stick to that. And the combination of the cloth and the padded vinyl underneath keeps everything soft, so I'm not likely to damage things, and yet it's a nice flat sort of surface to work off of. Now I've got a variety of pieces that were recovered from the crash. So I'm just sort of looking at how they go together. This obviously was the battery compartment. that I had created. That must have been a panel in behind it here someplace. That might have been the receiver on here. So battery in there, receiver stuck onto there. That is a panel for the landing gear, I would expect, and there's a rather hefty chunk of wood that might be related to that. Single screw in the middle, screw on each side, you know, remains to be seen. Firewall. Firewall's in pretty good shape, actually. I was thinking about replacing that, but I don't think I'll have to. In a great variety of places where various motor mounts were put in. These ones here would have been the ones that I was using. And that actually might be a reason for changing it. As I recall, that was a bit of an issue having these things out so close to the edge. But that may have been related to the very tight working space that we have in there. So we'll see whether or not to make a new firewall, but at least we've got a very clearly defined one, which says something about the glue job, that if just simply the glue separates, it probably wasn't glued the best it could have been. But nonetheless, that's okay. So we've got those pieces. We might utilize this one in particular to help establish the width of the fuselage. Yeah, interesting as to which way that went. You know, whether we use that one is a possibility. But let's get into the fuselage and have a look at it itself and see what we're going to do there. Control horn, that can wait. Okay. So as I look at it here, I've already peeled back this bit of the covering, and I hate this covering. It just stays all sticky where it used to be together. But anyway, this covering is going to give us a hint as to just exactly where to place this, in that we can see where it ripped, and we could line that up pretty well exact. So what we want to initially do is just use some cyano adhesive to stick it together. Some places we want to get the covering back to where we can just stick to the balsa. Other places we want to leave it in place so that we can use it to position things and make sure they're in the right place. Okay, so I'm just trying to peel this back from the edge here where I'm going to do some gluing. I reckon part of the design of this sort of plane is to utilize this very heavy covering as part of the structure. It's got quite a bit of strength to it, and it's reasonably resilient. So back in the days prior to the foamies, I can see where they would especially like this kind of stuff. Okay, I won't worry about that more just yet. At least I got this crack opened up here. I might clean off some of the adhesive. Again, what we want is a good bond with the ply or the balsa, whatever sort of wood we're working with. And so we don't want stuff on the outside of that that's going to prevent it from sticking to the wood itself. We want the glue to penetrate into the fiber of the wood and provide a very good solid bond. Okay, that's good there. Okay, so with this bit right here, we've got a variety of things happening. Oh, this stuff is nasty, sticky stuff. Just pull on it and you got all that sticky all over your fingers. It would appear that the pilot is actually glued on, and it's broken there. if you don't get the covering off and you get the glue on it, then if you decide to do something different, then the covering is kind of part of the repair job, and it's very hard to go backwards at that time. So I like to have it clear from the joints that I'm gluing on. So the good fingernails are very handy. Okay, so that's going to go in there like how, like that. Okay, it's kind of hard to show you everything that I'm doing. I'll put a bit of a pad under the side of this. I just put a sponge underneath the back of this that allows me to push down to get this thing farther over without having to hold the other part up. And I got stuff going all over the place here. For the moment, I'm leaving this little bit of balsa in here to help position it, and then I may pull that covering off of it and use it, but for right now I'm mainly thinking about where everything is positioned and getting it in where I can tack it in place. Okay, so that's down there. Okay. Like that. Got a gap in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do first off, I'm going to glue this bit here, and then I'm going to see about, well, that's a gap there that's not going to go together. It's just the way it was glued to begin with. I can tack that onto there in the right position, and then work on this other. So I'm going to start out with a thin CA to allow things to happen very quickly and get a lot of penetration. And then along the way I may be using some of the other stuff. If you have two people doing this, you can have one person holding it and another person spraying with a kicker. But it's kind of hard to spray with a kicker when you're trying to hold it with two hands at the same time. And with a thin CA, it does solidify pretty quickly. So that's got that solid. That's got that held in place. Okay. Now I'm going to take the paper off of this, which is going to be problematic because it's going to go into pieces. Sometimes by just having the pieces, it helps to sort of secure things, and you'll still have something behind it. This one really got ripped, something terrible. But I can, this gives me a piece of balsa that fits exactly in the hole. So when I get something behind it, that helps secure it, but in the meantime this gives me just exactly what I need to to fill a hole with. Okay. In this case we're having a little bit of difficulty getting it in back here. Probably a little bit of compression when we put the glue on will help. Okay, I'm going to glue it up to here. Glue all of that because that's pretty well all held in place, and then this bit that's coming out a bit proud, I'll try to put that in farther as I patch in some of this stuff. Okay, that was an easy one to not have to do too much. It's all sticky up there still. And give that just a minute for the alcohol to dry out of it, or whatever this stuff consists of. Okay, allowing, using the greaseless paper allows me to actually feel where the edges are and hold them together. So we got this one piece butted up against the other, and I can feel that they are even along the edge, and I can hold the pressure on it to help it get a good glue joint. As with most glues, your best joint is going to be where the two surfaces are actually pressed together and there's not a significant gap that's filled with glue. The very nature of the glue is it's sort of taking fibers and it's attaching the fibers together, and then the fibers tend to provide the strength. So having the two surfaces together allows those very microscopic set of fibers to be glued. This right here, we can't do too much about it. We got something that push that in there. Get all the sticky bits back on my fingers. Sticky bits or not, we got to get this thing together. Okay. And I know I've got some bits in here that are trying to go up, so I'm putting a lot of pressure down right there. And mild pressure as far as holding the other bits together. I'll do something with all these sticky bits. What a mess. Okay, so that's got that together. Now I'm going to put a little bit extra pressure on this bit here to try and get that in place. It's not cooperating fully, so we'll probably end up doing a bit of sanding and using the filler to even that out. I need to get the covering away from that. And that's all fine up to there. So okay, this little bulkhead was popped out here, so I've just pushed it and wiggled it a little bit to get that in place. And now we'll just add a little bit of glue to hold it there for the time being. A lot of these areas like this will end up using some epoxy, but for the moment we'll tack it together using the CA adhesive. This one I'll break my rule and still use a little bit of glue in it, even though it's got the covering on it, in that covering instead of holding it where I want it. And again, having the non-stick paper helps immensely in getting that together. Okay, so that is stuck together the way it went. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove some more skin, covering that is. That piece is a little bit farther out, which is being held out by this. Okay, we got something sprung in there. Inside here, it's probably hard to see, but there's a piece of balsa across there that sprung out a little bit. So I need to get that pushed back in place. And everything just got a little bit too close together here. Not enough to really cause a problem. Plane looks pretty straight. but enough to create a problem putting it together. I just got a little bit too tight that way. So this piece in here that's sprung out a little bit is about 1 millimeter or so too long. And so we will try to shorten it up a bit if we can. So I'm using a bit of a sawing motion in there to cut away at that. Okay, I was able to press that together. So that gives us some support behind this and helps make it a little bit more even. It's not exactly in line, but it's much flatter now than what it was a minute ago. So I'm going to put some glue on that guide, keep it in place. Okay, we won't worry about the rest of that. Okay, so this here is just a lightning hole. You can see there's one on the other side there. So we'll need to piece in a panel in here and over to there and put a little something in there. This thing I'll just sand off, get down even. This, we've got that together. Okay, and I think we're just going to be taking all of this off and recovering it. Oh yeah, we got a nice split. Sometimes it's advantageous to get the covering off to see what all damage you've got under there. Okay. So this, we just need to push that together. So I need to get underneath it somehow. Kind of hard to that bulkhead there, and my fingers aren't quite long enough from here. Okay, time for some innovation. I've got these plastic tools that are used for prying things apart and stuff like that. And I'm thinking that I can get something like that in there. I'm looking at the angle that it's on. And it looks to me that if I have something near the end of it that I could put some pressure on with, then I might be okay. So this is Jim's remote finger. Okay, so I take some tape. Okay, so I just got that foam wrapped around there like so. Wrap some tape around here. Okay. And I do have a smaller one should I need that, but broader contact is better than lesser contact, so now I can put that in there. And I want to get it where I can put some pressure behind there. Yeah, that's got it right like that. Okay. So I'm just feeling that I've got support behind it. I'm going to put some glue on it, and then I'm going to have my baking paper, greaseless paper, whatever you call it, and I'm going to hold that in place with the glue on it. So I'm using my thumb to feel the two edges to keep them together, and also kind of feeling the angle that the balsa is at to try and keep it straight. So that did reasonably good. Got a little bit of an indentation there, but we'll be able to fill that in with some filler. Looks like there's a little bit of I don't know if it's a break or just a mark, whatever, down through that way. One thing about removing this covering is that this covering is generally heavy, and the shrink-on stuff that we're going to use is going to be a lot lighter. See, we got plywood here in the bottom. Rather busted up plywood in some cases. Plywood is interesting stuff in that it has multi-directional strength, but multi-directional strength is compromised in that to have strength in all directions means that in any one direction it has to have less strength. So going along this way, it's going to have less strength than if it was solid, but actually this looks like it's not plywood, it's balsa. So much for that theory. So again, we're going to stick it together as much as possible with existing pieces. Okay, so I'm going to get 2 pieces of greaseless paper ready. Baking paper. Okay, you're not seeing this too well, I'm sure, but I'm using my left hand to try and hold the pieces where I want them. Let's put in a dab of this. I'm going to hold that down where I want it. and a little bit more. So the first dab of glue was on the join of the brake along the bottom piece going fore and aft. Second dab of glue was to attach the side to that piece. Okay, and I'm gradually working down this way. So next I'm going to get this lined up and held in place. And just a little dot of glue on there to hold that, so I don't have to glue my finger to it. And with that in place, I'm going to then add glue onto the side and use this to hold that in place. Feel the heat coming through as that glue reacts with whatever it reacts with. Okay. Now I got this horrible mess down here. As per usual, there's not a given tool that is going to grab a hold of that. I thought about these, and that's sort of coming in at the wrong angle. Thought about that. That's not really doing much. So hey, some sort of brake tool, I think, from my automotive engineering days. And I think I can get that in there. Give me something to push against to get that kind of put together. Okay, it's pretty mashed up, but I think that's going to kind of do the job. So we'll start out with just a part of it at a time. So I'm going to get behind this first part of the thing, put glue on it, hold that in place, and then we'll do the next bit. And as usual, we're depending upon the feeling in our finger to feel where things are and to try to keep them as even as possible. And the way the CA works is before it goes off totally, it gets very sticky. So even if it hasn't been held together totally at the beginning, if while it's still in that sticky mode, if you can be holding it together, it'll stick to the other bit and stay put. Okay, that looks nice. Let's just gouge it out a bit. Okay, so the rest of that just needs to get glued in place. Okay, and I'm avoiding getting the glue onto the covering. Okay, so that's good. A lot of this stuff we'll go back over it later on, but by and large we're just getting bits and pieces put together the best we can. So let's get this piece. Yeah. Right, that one. Yes, I do. Okay. The fibers will tend to lock together. And so sometimes you have to sort of get it out of alignment, get the fibers together, and then push it back into place. And voila. And if you remember what I said about glue, basically getting fibers to adhere together and allowing the fibers to provide the strength. That's essentially what we're doing here. Utilizing those fibers of the original wood to provide some strength. Doing one little bit at a time. Gluing our finger on. And now I got this little bit up here at the top. Okay, now we got some reconstructive surgery to do there. See if there's anything that we can do up here at the front. It's always a question with something like this. Eventually, you know, it has to have something rebuilt in there, and we'll be cutting a straight line and we'll be making a new piece to go in. And so the question is, do we patch this piece back in and then cut a clean edge that we work off of, or do we actually go in farther and just make our new piece go up farther? This retains that sort of line of the bottom coming through to in there someplace. Got multiple layers of stuff there that are out of place. And took a pretty big hit to get them out of place. So it takes a fair bit of effort to try and get them back in place. But there we go. So that's those things back in place. And of course that's with the covering on, and I'd like to get the covering off. Okay, well I'm definitely going to have those, well definitely, I'm going to try to have those pieces in there like that because it fits together so well. So I think what I'm going to try to do is go real light on the glue. You can't even see it from over there is the problem. We got 2 layers of balsa there, and the break is not in the same place on the 2 pieces of balsa. So maybe we can uncover a little bit at a time while some of the covering helps hold it in place. And then after we get that bit glued, then we can remove more covering and get it farther up. Okay. Okay, so let that dry off a little bit. Okay, so I can feel that this bottom bit is a little bit higher than the other bit. There's not an awful lot we can do about that, but I'll be getting it from both sides, and actually I can pretty well get, just by twisting my fingers a little bit with a lot of pressure right over the joint, and then twisting my fingers just a little bit to the right, I can get those pieces to where they're pretty well aligned. So that's what we're going to do there. So I'm just feeling with my fingers, so you can't see anything, I can't see anything. But I'm feeling with my fingers where I'm squeezing, and doing my best to keep those things in a line, you know, and give it 15 seconds or so to sort of take a hold, and then we're good. Very nice. Okay, so that's got all of that together nicely. So now I can pull the covering farther off. Nasty stuff. Okay, what do I got here? That's not enough to do anything with, just a very thin sliver of balsa. So that's going to get repaired in here. With a new piece of balsa. So I'll end up with a new piece of balsa in this section in here. Okay, we might need a bit of sandpaper to get this stuff off of here. May have had a repair there at some time in the past with some glue being applied to it along that join. Okay, well this one, I think all of the pieces are basically there, so I don't think we need to worry too much as to we can remove the covering and still piece it together. There's a lot of stuff to have to go together here. So we got broken bulkheads inside here, plus a broken skin on the outside, and we have to get it all fit together nicely. Or else it's not going to go together nicely. Okay, I got part of it there, so what I'm going to do is going to protect my hand. And I've got it all together right in this one spot. And I just want to make sure that the other stuff will fit in there okay. I'm not going to hinder that from doing what it needs to do. So I'm going in there, just got it together in this one spot next to one of the formers, and I'm going to tack that in place. Okay, so that has more or less tacked it together right here. And then now I can go along and hopefully get the rest of it together. The other former's right there. So I might do it along where this other former is. See if I can tack this together a bit. Okay, so it's got that tacked together through there. This is going to need some glue that can fill it a bit. We'll do what we can with the thin stuff first, and we'll add the other stuff in there. Just working along, tacking together what we can. So the checking first to make sure I can get it together. and what sort of pressure is going to be required. Applying some glue and then popping it in there the best we can. Get this under here, get ready with that. Okay, so I'm squeezing with finger and thumb to keep the middle piece and the piece that's towards the top as together as I can. And then I'm visually looking at the join where it comes together with the side of the fuselage, and I'm pushing in with my two hands together to hold that one in place. Okay. Now these other ones, those aren't going to go together anymore. This one will. It also needs to get cleaned up a bit. For some reason it was really sticky up here at the front of the cockpit. Must have been the pilot was vomiting. If he went through what he went through in this crash, he'd probably be vomiting too. Probably you'd do well to wear gloves doing this kind of stuff. Oh, we're nearing the end of our removal of the covering off of the plane. Some places, like a lot of this on the tail, is just super gummy, almost liquidy, the adhesive on the back of it. And it's really hard to get the fingers onto it. It's so slippery and gummy and awful. So anyway, I'm finding these forceps are quite handy, and that they have a really good grip. I suppose they're made for grabbing a hold of greasy things in the body or whatever. But obviously you try to get it loose along the edges and then pull along, and as much as possible get it off together, but it often won't cooperate. How gummy that is, you know, just totally ridiculous. And there you go. Still very sticky. A lot of glue on there. I'm thinking, you know, I'm using this wax remover stuff, but as you think about this glue, I'm thinking that there's a sticker adhesive remover that's designed for getting that stuff. And I'll have a look and see if I can find some of that, because this, you know, it's just an absolute mess. But anyway, as you see here, we've got our fuselage coming along very nicely. I haven't glued in the firewall yet, and deciding whether to use this one or not, but it seems to be pretty secure. And a few extra air holes isn't going to do a great lot of damage. So we still got some pieces to repair here, to put in new stuff. But what I've done is I've gotten all of the old pieces that were gluable all glued back in place. So you got the basic airframe there. So then we'll have some reinforcing to do, and some we'll have some filler that we need to put in places. But all in all, you know, boy, it's a night and day difference as compared to how it was looking when we got started with this repair. So it's going well. Well, we've come to a point where we need to make some engineering decisions. I haven't glued this bit in yet where the servos were, but that was in that place there. Landing gear were up in here, and of course the wing is in there, and it fits into these two holes here with the two little prongs on the front of the wing. Needs a bolt onto a panel that was back there. I suppose that was this. that was back here. Did I just have one? Oh, no. that piece is still on the wing over there. So that bit there, actually that's got part of that piece there. Might still be able to utilize some of that. But anyway, the engineering bit has to do with the structure and the strength of the thing. If I just retain access through this area here, with this covered up and that covered up back there, and the wing attaching here, where you take off the wing and you get its stuff here, and I can stick the battery in there and so forth. And then in terms of structure, you got a box section up here that's very, very strong. You've got a somewhat weaker section through here, in that you've just got basically three sides boxed in. And then in the back here, it's reasonably strong, other than the fact that it's got all the holes cut in it, but it's still boxed in all around, so that's pretty solid. But if I was to cut a hatch in the top of this to put the battery in from the top, then I've greatly weakened this area here. So then the question is, do I need to maybe box in part of this? I'm thinking they'll go with plywood all the way from here to there. This sort of thing here, they've added on to it a few times, I think. And I'm not quite sure what all that objective was with that. But I think I'll put plywood up to here, reinforce with plywood in the area where the gear actually is, and the reinforcing to both be doubling up in that area, plus some plywood going up the sides and epoxied onto it to make that really strong through there. Okay, so that gets us to there. We then have a bit of a weaker spot here. We basically need access to this area for the working on the servos, and that can be done when the wing is off. But I'm thinking I can come down with a panel from here down to there, and I'll have access to the top of that panel from the hatch on top, and to the bottom area from here below. We've got air that can flow underneath where the servos are, so we can have airflow through there. And do I need anything here? I think that's all that's really going to be needed. The ESC will probably be maybe on the side in here. So we'll have airflow through there, out through here, and out through the bottom and the back. So I think that's basically the idea. Plywood across here, plywood down to this panel here. And I haven't weakened anything back here. Where I've weakened it is going to be in here someplace. And I've got a canopy that can't get split in half. Okay, that's going to go on to just in front of that. Okay. So, given that I don't want to cut into that, I could go from about there to there. And I'll just have to play around with the battery as to how far forward I have to go to be able to get it in there. But something like that. And so I have this extra structure going past that down to here. And I think that's going to be pretty good. So that's the plan. So it's going really, really well. And guess what? New discovery. Attached to the wing, where the wing bolts into this piece going across here, and this little piece that fits in beautifully right there. Okay, so that's going to get attached on as well. I'll probably do the normal sort of tacking on this bit along here, But where this goes in there, that's going to be entirely put in with epoxy. I want maximum strength, and that's something that after this thing is tacked in place, I'll be able to clamp it like that and get a really good join there with epoxy right from the get-go. Got the other pieces to go on here. We've discussed the engineering decisions concerning things. So what you need to do right now is make sure that you've subscribed. And as you think about that little circle over there, click on that. And that will allow this stuff to be handy for you so that you continue to follow along with this repair. Yeah, it's taken a while to get to this point. We got a long ways yet to go. But hey, it's really exciting to see this plane come back together again. And one day we'll be seeing it back in all its glory, flying at the field and hanging up there where it belongs. So you have a great day. Enjoy your flying and repairing. I'm RC Jim signing off.